Welcome to Beyond Titles, Who You Are Matters. Today's guest is Garry Hiebert. Garry, thank you so much for joining us today. I really do appreciate you giving us your time.
My pleasure.
We're going to talk a little bit about who you are as a person, because we know that everybody has a title of what they do, but we really want our listeners to get to know who you are so they know why it's so important that they come to you when they are ready to come to you. So, my first question for you is, are the three words others might use to describe you the same as the ones you use to describe yourself?
Probably yes. I would say there would be three words. People would call me a father, a grandfather, a husband. I mean, those would be three very common words, that people would identify with.
Thank you. So, here's a little bit of a deeper question for you. What wouldn't be like it is today had you not been a part of it? And what value did you add?
Well, I think my business has definitely exploded since I became part of IPP. And the value that I've added is that I have kind of come out of my shell, if you will, and become a little more outgoing and a little more deliberate, a little more in in I guess in intense, or I guess it's really deliberate in my delivery of my relationships and trying to grow some relationships with people because I'm really not very comfortable with that naturally.
Okay,
So IPP has kind of helped me to become more comfortable with that in growing those relationships. So that's my contribution.
awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It's very important, I think, that we have value, an understanding of our own value and what we add in order to be able to have the success that we're really looking for. So I appreciate you sharing that. What's one thing about you, Garry, that doesn't change no matter what changes around you? And why would you say that's important?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question, actually. So for me, it's my internal calm. I've always had this thing about staying cool, calm, and collected when shit hits the fan, when stuff goes crazy, when things are very stressful, when everybody's panicked. I'm just like, stay calm, everything's going to be fine. We'll get through this. We'll figure this out. And that is something that I think I carry with me is that calmness, that calming factor. It's just a little bit too chill sometimes for people. They're like, why aren't you freaking out? Why aren't you having this um, moment of panic like everybody else is having while this is going on? And I'm like, it just doesn't serve me, and it's just the way I feel. It's just a natural thing that kind of comes with me. And believe it or not, my son's got it even worse than I do. So he's like super uber. We call him the super uber chill dude. It's kind of, I don't know if it's hereditary or what it is, but I've got it and it's there. It's one of those things. So,
Well, I think that's a great attribute to have, honestly, because not everybody has that chill factor, if you will. And it can be very important when you're dealing with a variety of different kinds of intense situations. So um, I'll be sure to want to have you around anytime I'm dealing with anything so you can share some of that chill with me. I
right
think
on.
that's a great thing that doesn't change about you. Um, okay, so what's the most important thing about you that you want someone to know about you as a person when you meet them for the first time?
About me, when I meet him for the first time. Well, for me, to me, it's the most important thing is that they're going to realize that I'm friendly. I'm open. I'm approachable. I think those are initial greeting things when you first meet a person, that you don't feel uncomfortable around them, that you do feel like you can always start up a conversation with that person and just kind of get things rolling quickly. There's no delay. So that's my superpower if it is with people. Just naturally, I like people, so I naturally want to go and meet someone. And I feel like that openness kind of gets the ball rolling. So that's what I want them to know is that I am open. I'm ready to learn about them. I want to, and generally find out about who they are. I mean, that's the other part of that is like I've got a genuine interest in learning and I'm very inquisitive. I'm always want to find out, who's that person, what's cool about them, and get to know them. And I think that's what makes that approachability part of what makes it easier for me to build those relationships kind of quickly.
Now, would you say that that's the same thing that you would want, whether it's in a social situation or whether it's a business situation, no matter what situation? That's what you would want somebody to know, right?
Yeah, I want him to know that. I want him to know, and as like I had a client meeting this morning, and hadn't met the client, and walked into the restaurant, and I said, I'm here. I text the client, and from across the room, a person waved their hand way over and waved me over and said, "I'm over here. I'm over here." I mean, they recognized me walking in because I had a smile on my face and I was outgoing and I was looking around looking for people. So there's a live example of that openness. I want that in business. I want that in my personal life. I think that's important all around being a genuine person. So yeah, I want that. I
Sounds
want that appeal.
it sounds like they were actually really excited to welcome you over to the table. So
It was, and that's how it went. And it was one of the most productive meetings I think I've had since I started my business. So it was
that's
great.
great.
Yeah,
That's great. Okay, so who inspires you to be the best that you can be and why?
that's a great question. And there's a lot of people, but if I wanted to narrow it down to like one person or say that there's one real inspirational person, it's got to be my son because he has some challenges and he overcomes. And so that's the thing that taught me that even if you can't or don't have all the skills or the equipment or what you need to solve a problem, just sticking with it, um, and finding other ways around it, finding other solutions, searching for new solutions. And that's what he's taught me is to overcome even if there's a barrier in the way. And I look up to him for doing that because not only did he master, high school, college, went on to get his own master's degree, which I thought that's probably, we didn't even think he was going to get a chance to go to college because of some of the challenges that he had, but he figured out ways to do modifications. And, I gotta give him props and, kudos, for being able to accomplish that. And so it's a personal thing. So, a lot of people have heroes that are, those superheroes that are in that comic book or that movie or whatever. Yeah, I got a real life person that I can relate to. So that's the person I look up to.
Okay, so I have to throw an extra little question in here about that. Um, Let me say thank you so much for sharing that about your son. That's very powerful. I know that I very often say that my older son is a mentor to me because he learned how to get through certain things that I always wondered why he thought that way, but then realized later on that that was probably a good way to look at things. I'm curious, what do you think you contributed to his upbringing that gave him the foundation to be that person who can inspire you?
I think I probably gave him consistency. I tried to be a consistent, at this that's someone he could count on to do the same thing pretty much every time, that this is the way things were. It was pretty easy to look at that and say, okay, these are the rules. There's the line in the sand. I know what that is. And I provided him with that guidance and that consistency. I was not around that much when he was being raised as a young child because I was working. I had the 9 to 5, which was not more of a 9 to 9. It was 12, 14 hours a day for many, many years, 6 days a week, and there was one day off. And what do you do on that day off? You rest so you can do
Right.
6 more days again. And so I think I had to have just be a role model in a way of, you put your nose to the grindstone, you get the work done, you get the job done, you pay your bills, you make sure that you do things the right way. And those are the examples that I tried to set for my family. So I think that is part of why he is who he is. I'm sure his mom had a whole lot more to do with that than I did, but that was definitely something that I had for my contribution to the way he turned out as a man that he is today. So,
Well, you obviously did a great job if he's someone that inspires you to be your best. So thank you for
hey,
allowing me to get you to dig a little bit deeper on that.
yeah.
So let me ask you, what are you most passionate about, and how does that connect to what you do?
Yeah. Well, Lynn, listen, I'm passionate about helping people. I really am. I want to be a contributor to the community. I want to be a contributor to my genre, if you will, the people that are in my age group, people that I can relate to, and I want to offer some value in that. And so when I started to think about how does that relate to a career, I thought, well, I've done that before in the past with family. I helped with Medicare to help my parents to get through this very complicated process. And I was very confused myself with it. It took me quite a bit of time to learn what to do. And then after that, I said, this is definitely a niche market because I'll bet you there's not a lot of people that spend that kind of quality time with client to make sure that they do know and understand all of the different aspects of this. As said, I'm going to learn it even more and study it and get licensed and learn how to really present this in a way that people will really genuinely understand it without all the complexities that are part of the system, just the innate system in itself. It is just awful to try to understand it. Every time I sit down and talk to somebody, they're like, "How do you know everything that you know?" And I say, "Well, I study. I study a lot. I take a lot of courses to make sure that I'm up to speed with what's going on this year. But there's a lot of stuff that's been happening for years, and if you don't know it, it's hard. It's not one of those things that you can make it or fake it till you make it. You really need to know this business. And so for me, it's having the peace of mind, knowing that I've taken the time to really study the information to provide the correct answers for my clientele so that they feel confident making the right decisions for themselves. I provide them with a lot of opportunity to make a good choice for themselves. So I don't ever try to steer a client. That is definitely not what I do. My job is consulting, and I take it very seriously as a consultant to step back and to coach and to guide. So the beauty of it is I get to work with a group called Guided. So that's kind of maybe there's a pun intended in there. I don't know. It's just that the company is called Guided Solutions, and I feel like I belong to a place where we're guiding solutions. So it just kind of fits my personality.
I think that's a great analogy right there. And I knowing you the way that I do, I would say that probably is very fitting that you work for a company with that name. I know from our previous conversations, Garry, that this is not something that you've always done. You haven't always been a consultant. And I know that you've done a few different things, mostly had a very successful career before, I guess, in your earlier years when you were working that 9 to 9. Is there anything that you'd like to share about how that time in your life actually made you who you are today?
Well, I think everything that we do makes us who we are today. It's just a kind of accumulation of all the different jobs, all the different experiences have brought me to where I am at this place in time. So Yes, I had a career mostly in the restaurant business. My parents were in the restaurant business, and so I followed that career and then worked with many different national brands, international brands, the largest on the planet being McDonald's, Chipotle. And then when I retired, was fascinated with sales, and so I went into a sales organization and learned how sales are done. And then uh, that grew from there to the Medicare industry. So it was just like I think a natural progression of doors opening and then doors closing. You know, one door opens, one door closes. Opportunities are provided, and then I just grew from those opportunities. Part of my job in the past was consulting. I mean, I was a consultant for McDonald's Corporation for many years, working directly with the owners of the companies, consulting on their business performance and every aspect of the business and every system that they had. So I got to learn a lot of the wrong things to do and a lot of the right things to do, and learn how to apply those and try those and see which ones were the most efficient, most effective in a business format. And I loved it. I mean, every job that I've had, I've enjoyed each one of the different challenges of each one of the jobs. Some of them were more challenging than others, and some of them seemed to fit right in with my personality. And I think each and every one of those challenges has brought me one step closer to what is the right thing for Garry Hiebert to be doing right now. What is the right thing for me and my personality? And I think I've finally, it's taken a while. I think I finally latched on to where I'm supposed to be right now. And I'm just loving every minute of that. So I'm enjoying the passion of it.
There's so much about what you just shared that um, it is so important to just dig a little bit deeper in. I think when most people hear the restaurant business, especially when you mention the names of some of them, people automatically go to retail, right? And you really weren't in retail. You were in the throes of corporate, if you will. So you really did have a lot of strategizing that you had to do and learning a lot about really dealing with different types of people at different levels from what I think the conversations that we've had. And I really do think that that experience really gave you um, a lot of foundation that you've taken forward into the other aspects of the jobs that you have had. I think it's incredibly important for our listeners that we just repeat what you said about all of these jobs have were kind of like a stepping stone to get me to where I wanted to be. How often do we not think about what do I want to be doing for a living? I certainly didn't give that a lot of thought for a very long time. And I don't think we realize that there's a piece of us missing if we don't think about it. So the fact that you have just shared with us that you've had all these different very important roles, and now you're finally in your space, a space that makes you happy, a space that you like being in. And with that, I'm going to ask you this last question on our list, and I may throw a little extra in there. But I wonder if you wouldn't mind sharing with our listeners, now that you have found this role that makes you so happy, what would you say if you introduced yourself as if you were your best referral?
Wow. Okay, this is a little tough to introduce myself. Yes, okay. Well, I want you to meet Garry Hiebert. He is the most personable agent for Medicare that you will ever meet. He will take his time to investigate your needs, and he will help to make sure that when you do finally pick a solution, that it's a solution that you can live with. And guess what? He'll be there for you if you do change your mind. He works in perpetuity, which means his plan is to work with you for the entire length of your adventure, as it will, through Medicare. That's Gary.
Thank you so much. There was a lot of enthusiasm there. So I just want to expand on that a little bit because I believe you recently expanded from only doing Medicare.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So, yes,
I know you've
that's
helped a
true.
few of our IPP members with some different plans. And I'm wondering if you just want to share a little bit about that.
Sure thing. Yeah, for the younger folks out there under 65, I have also added in ACA, Obamacare, the marketplace. And so I can get family plans, individual plans for the individuals that need it that are under the age of 65 prior to Medicare. I also handle supplemental plans, hospital indemnity, dental, vision, hearing. So those ancillary products that people may need if they have a supplement plan and it doesn't carry a lot of the advantages that the advantage plans do. There is those other plans that can fill in the gaps, and basically that's what gap insurance is all about. And then there's wealth protection. So I'm involved with helping families with wealth protection and legacy as well. So that's another aspect of my
Wow.
business. It's health, it's wealth, and it's legacy. We protect what's really most important to you.
So you've really gone through a lot of steps to go from discovering how much you helped people through Medicare to expanding that to be able to help more people because you love helping.
Exactly.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm just curious. The one thing I didn't hear you mention that I did think that you were able to provide, and correct me if I'm wrong, is helping small businesses with insurance for someone in their company. And is that something that you can do as well?
Yes, I do have the small business. It's called Shop with the ACA program, and I can go into a small business and assist with setting up for like a human resource department. If they need set up for their insurance for all of their employees, we can get a group plan, but each individual can pick their own individual plan within that group plan, and they can get the group
Wow.
rates. So that is another benefit that I have, and recently added the AFLAC organization to that as well. So I have all of those protective devices, which just basically pay money if you do have an accident, long-term, short-term disability, accidental policies, cancer policies. So there's a lot of different policies that are in there as well to help protect people for any of these unfortunate situations that happen with health. So that's also an add-on feature. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be mostly Medicare. I mean, that is really my love, and that's how I got started. But I realize that there's a lot of other people out there that need help and that there's resources that I could provide. And so I'm trying to expand my portfolio so that I'm providing enough business for, I mean, enough help, but I don't want to be overwhelmed. It's still boutique services. It's still me. You're going to get Gary. You're not going to get some agent that I don't know what they're doing out there. So it's always going to be Gary in the field face to face. So it's just me, and I want to keep it that way. I don't want to grow into this large, massive company that has all these people running around that we don't know what they're doing and causing chaos. So it's a boutique service. It's personal. It's personal for me, and I want to keep it on a personal level for my clientele as well, even though I have those additional services available.
I think that's a wonderful thing that you care so much about your clients that you really just want to make sure that you have as many tools as you can to help them because you know that you can help them with any of those tools just as much as you can with the Medicare, but that you actually really enjoy what you're doing. And I think that
Absolutely.
is so important. Many of us can go a whole lifetime without finding what we really love to do. Um, Luckily, I was able to find that later on in life, but for a long time, I really didn't know. So I know that you've kind of been a little bit of a mentor to me, just in the example that you set with the chill and the love and and just the flexibility of who you are. So I want to thank you just for being who you are because you're really a very special person. With that, I would like to close out today by going back to what you mentioned earlier in this interview about what IPP has kind of done to make, bring you along in where you are today. Would you mind expanding on that a little bit?
Yes, I don't mind talking about that at all. In fact, I'm excited to talk about that. So my first experience with IPP, I was at another networking event. I was talking with an individual, Frank, and Frank, I said, Frank, and do you do any other networking? He goes, yeah, I do this one called IPP. And I said, what does that mean? He said, it's Inner Power Partners. And I said, oh, I like the name. He goes, we're meeting Thursday and we're going to be in Boca. I said, oh, what time? And he told me, and I said, well, I'll be there. I'll go to that meeting. And I remember walking into that meeting and it just felt so cool and laid back. And at the beginning, and I just felt relaxed there. And so the meeting itself drew me in, everybody that was in there and meeting them and saying hello. And it just felt like the right place. I just wanted to go back again. I want to spend more time with these people. They're nice. And so, fast forward a year later, I've been with IPP for a year now, and it's been just this wonderful experience of meeting people at Chamber of Commerce meetings. One meeting leads to another meeting. I meet another person, that turns into another meeting, that turns into another meeting, another relationship. And gosh, it's just kind of become this thing of growth. And to me, that's changed me as a person. I've expanded my business knowledge. I went from really not knowing too much about what I was doing in the industry. Yes, I had a license. I was able to go out and work, but how do you get the word out to people properly? And so I've changed everything with totally streamlining my business, making it more recognizable, making it so that people can find me easier. And I have people that are contacting me out of the blue that I've never met before. So my business has completely changed, and I think it's changed me as a person as well. I'm starting now as a leader in the organization, and that's giving me even more confidence. So it's helped me to grow in a lot of different areas, both on a professional and on a personal level, that I think is going to really, I mean, the best is yet to come, in my opinion. So we'll see.
Well, I really do appreciate you sharing that. And I'm glad you mentioned that you were going to be a leader now in our organization because I definitely wanted to mention that. And you are actually leading two of our groups, your existing one and one that's going to be launching after the first of the year. So
That's right.
you're going to be running the group in Palm Beach Gardens uh, as we've just shifted our location and time. And then you're also launching all on your own. You're going to be launching that group in Wellington. And that's super exciting because we have a lot of people who are really interested in us bringing things over in that direction. So um, I'm excited to have you on my team. And I really appreciate just your story from beginning to end and including IPP because I've witnessed a lot of the growth. You are a super special person. And I'm so glad that our listeners have had a chance to actually get to know a little bit more about you today. What I would like to ask you as we wrap up is please let someone know how they can get in touch with you.
Sure. Yeah. It's insurancebygary.com. That's my website. Now it's Gary with two R's, but that's as hard as it gets to on a search. My phone number is 561-906-0649. Call me anytime. You can email me at my name, which is, INS for insurance by Gary at gmail.com. So
Yeah, and
pretty,
remember that Gary has two R's
that's
because
right.
that's important.
Yep.
And I know that there are going to be some people who are going to want to talk to you. And so I appreciate you sharing the information. We have a lot of exciting things coming up for IPP in 2025. And I'm so glad to have you along the ride to be a part of it. And for any of our viewers who are not familiar with Interpower Partners, you can visit us at interpowerpartners.com and learn a little bit more about some of the other people. You can find Garry's profile, learn a little bit more about him on the partner profiles, and learn a little bit more about us as a community. It's really special because beyond all the titles you may think you have, who you are matters. And so we thank you for listening, and we look forward to having you come back to our next episode with our next guest. Garry, thanks so much for giving us your time today. I really appreciate you.
My pleasure, Lynn. It's a lot of fun. Looking forward to a brand new 2025 and keeping things alive.
Sounds great. Thank you.